Greetings, my name is Todd and I'm the Collection Strategies Librarian at Coastal Carolina University. I've been here since March 2022, and prior to coming to Coastal, I worked in a variety of roles, including Library Director at Coker University in Hartsville, South Carolina. I was there since 2007, so I've been in the game for a while. Thank you for taking time to hear about what we're doing with APC funds, open access, and open investments. So, we're a very new university. We were founded in 1954. We just turned 70. Local leaders felt the area needed a junior college, and they put together a committee and actually, opened one, which is pretty cool. Obviously, I like working there. The really kind of neat thing is they had a local book drive to build the initial book collection, and that included all kinds of random books that people didn't want in their houses any longer, old encyclopedias. You can get the idea. So we had a big weeding project last year. We finally got rid of I think basically the last was we have a few of them that are classics, but a lot of the old stuff we finally got rid of. Just an interesting way to build a collection for a library. So Coastal Carolina University, as it is now known, is now a medium-sized 11,000 FTE doctoral granting state-funded university near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're technically in Conway, which is a suburb of Myrtle Beach. Reputation. I grew up up north, and I came down in high school and began looking for colleges. I graduated from high school near Charleston, and Coastal had a reputation of being a party school back in the early 90s. Not really a great way to build your academic rigor or things of that nature. So that's the reputation it has. And also the teal football field. That's our colors. Back during COVID, one of the first big football games was, I believe, BYU versus Coastal. We were very amenable to opening up for football, and it was one of the only football games on in this teal field that you don't see very much. And it was a big deal. So that's what people know about Coastal. So we want to elevate academics. In 2021, Dr. Michael T. Benson became the third president of Coastal Carolina University, believe it or not, only 3 presidents. And he is a historian. He has an academic background, and it is very refreshing to work on a campus with an academic at the helm. I've worked, and a lot of us have, these days with business leaders, and I specifically had a business school dean that had moved up and become our president at Coker, and just a different mentality. It's refreshing to work for an academic. In fact, he wrote the book on it. He wrote the book, The Birth of the American Research University, a biography of Daniel Coit Gilman, who founded Johns Hopkins. So he knows all about academia and what it means to be a research university. And that was one of his big platforms early on, was to increase academic rigor and faculty research output. The big 3 R's: reach, rigor, and reputation. And that's where his mission statement and the focus for his first few years at Coastal. So, starting an APC fund. So with library administration, that's University Librarian, and collections and research scholarship librarians, including John Feltz, who's the head of collections and information technology, and also a big NASIG member, and our research and scholarship librarian, Eric Resniss. They came to the conclusion that we needed to support APC funds, and why not create a fund to fund open access journals? And it just makes a lot of sense. It promotes open and equitable research. I know as a librarian for many years at a small school, we could not afford to do something. We could not afford to start a fund to fund APCs, but we did make a lot of use of open access journals and sources, and we could not have done that without other schools. And so we were looking broadly beyond just Coastal's faculty and students. It gets the Coastal name out there, and that goes back to the reputation and building the reputation as a research institution. And it's not just other schools, but it's also government agencies. We have a marine science program that's very successful and very well published, and to get that out there with government agencies, to work with government agencies beyond what they've already doing, is excellent, is a great thing. and it gets the research available more quickly. So the output gets out there through our institutional repository, digital commons, much more quickly. And why the library? Well, we have pre-existing relationships with most of these publishers, all these publishers that we deal with. Instead of redoubling our efforts, having dean's offices or business offices, starting license agreements and going through legal and the procurement process, we already have those in place. We can get that done a lot more quickly, and it's centralized billing. We have mechanisms in place already to do that. So instead of redoubling our efforts, and it just saves a lot of time for everyone. It makes for better tracking. We can track everything as a whole instead of in bits and pieces. And that's what a lot of this was doing. And the dean's offices across campus are very busy with the growth of the campus. We've grown, our area has grown a lot, but the coastal has grown quite a bit in just the last few years. And trying to keep up with that, we're better suited for that type of thing. And also it ensures, and this is always a difficulty, is getting the actual output, the article, into our institutional repository. It would end up on someone's hard drive and they would retire, or they'd forget to give it to us. And with this mechanism in place, we get that document much more quickly, and it gets on our IR. So we have record of the research that's being done here at Coastal. So funding, and this is where I came in. This is my part of this. Is that we created nearly $100,000 in cost saving. Just looking, I spent a lot of time looking at redundant resources, using all the analytics and various counter 5 stats, obviously, and just matching titles and what do we already have coverage in, what isn't being taught anymore. We have so many things that are underutilized that were great purchases, great databases, or whatever 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that just aren't being taught. The faculty that requested it or the programs that used it aren't using those anymore, whatever it is. There's lots of room for this. We just happened to get a big number this particular year, last year when we were doing this. But that was a really big part of the funding of this. So we rolled that into our new APC fund. And one of the neat things about our campus and where we're located, we're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which I'm sure most of you know is a big tourist destination. We have a 1% sales tax. They call it the local penny tax. And it's basically to catch tourists, and we all pay it if we live here, but that generates revenue as a backstop to that $100,000 in cost savings. Because obviously you can't cut $100,000 out of your collections budget every year. That's just not going to happen. So we do have a little bit of a backstop with that penny sales tax. And the penny sales tax is so popular that we actually have a building named after it that was paid for partially by that. So the one big stepping stone or block, I should say, is the university budget procedures. So, we're a state agency, and they're pretty rigid on how they do their financing and their accounting. So one of the things we had to ensure, or try to ensure, was that the money could roll over from one fiscal year to the next. And it wasn't as easy as that. It took some discussion, and there's some tricky ways of doing it, but the accounting does make sense. So we were able to sort of do that by shifting accounts around and things of that nature. So we started up the APC fund and how it turned out. Once we got the approvals, we got the buy-in from the dean and provost and deans, and right up to President Benson, we decided we needed to sit down and create a framework, and we didn't reinvent the wheel on it. We started with a $5,000 limit per article per faculty member, basically one per year unless funds are left over, and there were. Spoiler. So they must be published in open access journals. Hybrid or delayed access journals are not eligible initially. We just wanted to see how just purely open access journals would work. And obviously, once again, and you could tell this was an issue in the past, you must provide a copy for the institutional repository, which we use digital commons. There are other parts to that. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that, but that's the broad brush strokes on that. So we'd get the word out. The liaison librarians in research and scholarship, that's their department, and with the scholarly communications librarian and John Feltz would go out to deans and departments and schools and talk with them about this program prior to the academic year starting last August. and give these frameworks, and it was very well received, as one would think when you're giving away free money for publishing to save their department's money. We also had a press release that was we got our university marketing and communications department to put out a press release, and it got picked up by the usual outlets. The usual suspects picked it up against the Grain, Charleston Hub, and Marshall Breeding's email that it sent that out. So we got some pretty good positive press on that, because that $100,000 is a pretty solid number. So year one, we had 16 faculty members publish with 23 articles. Yes, we allowed for double dipping. Once we got about halfway through the year, we saw we were going to have plenty of money left over, so we opened it up for double dippers. And we had some science articles, marine science specifically, that published a couple of articles. So that was good. And we ended up only spending $48,500 of that $100,000, which is pretty good. With little ramp up, we started like in August as faculty were getting back into it, so we're already a month into our fiscal year. And then the requests started coming in. So that's not terrible. So what's next? Year two is underway. We did reduce the APC fund to $50,000, but we should be able to accommodate more. We have some flexibility in our budget. We have that penny sales tax money that can come in and reinforce that if we need to. But we think with $50,000 is a good starting point. We have a lot of transformative agreements that you don't require APC funds. We have tokens. That sort of thing. So we're working those in as well, so we won't need to pony up as much on the APC part of it. We need to increase outreach to faculty. We have to go beyond just the meetings and the workshops, especially with new faculty. We welcomed 91 new faculty this year, mostly newly minted PhDs or recent graduates. Most of those are going to be tenure track, and they will need to publish, as we all know. And so they need to know about open access publishing, which probably know about that, but they don't know what an APC costs are. And so we need to educate them on that. And we've been working on that already this semester. And we're trying to look for unique ways to use this APC fund to get our name out there, get it out there for people to hear about. And so we had a very interesting request that came across from one of our music professors. Eric Schultz is a professor and clarinetist, and used the APC fund to help, requested that we help fund some of the recording of an album he made on campus with, recorded in the building next door. So that was a really kind of a unique thing that we did. It will be open access. He wanted it open access right away to stay true to the fund, but we decided with his agreement after we talked to him that we're going to give him 6 months, kind of a window to generate some streams. It's available on all listening streaming services, so he can get some revenue from it, and then we will drop it in the IR for people to find. So that was a really neat thing, and that goes back to tell you, when you're in a library, you want to have a broad variety of people working in the library. If this had come across my desk and I was in charge of making these decisions, I'm not sure I would have approved it. I love music. Well, my background was in political science and English, and I have a food service background before that. So I would not have thought to even include this. But John Feltz was a professional musician for many years and saw this was important. And it was recorded on our campus with university staff, so it made a lot of sense for us to support that. Moving forward, we'll see what kind of other projects, maybe a film, we'll see. But this is just an interesting funding opportunity. So this year already, when we're only about 3 months into the year, we're off to a good start. 9 items, including the one album, 8 articles in one album, so that's pretty good. And we've got a couple of transformative agreements so it doesn't cut into that fund a little bit, so that's good too. And so we decided to kind of, instead of the full $100,000, we'll pivot to investing in open access. And that's just, you give a layout, and that opens up collections of content for all readers and all users. And that's more sustainable for us. We can say X amount of dollars for that, instead of the unknown. You may have a lot of APC charges one year or not any at all. So it's a little more, we can plan out our budget and say we're going to support this particular platform, this particular publisher, X amount of dollars. It just makes a lot more sense for us financially. And then ebooks. That's the next step for us is to support open ebooks. And we need to meet our students where they're at. They want, not just students, but also faculty. They want ebooks, monographs, That's what they want to use as well for research. So we're going to support this year JSTOR's Path to Open, Knowledge Unlatched, and MIT Press Direct to Open. And we're looking at some other programs to do for that as well. But that's it. I thank you for coming to this. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know at tricks, just like the cereal, at coastal.edu. Thank you very much.